My name is Anne-Marie and I'm in 5th grade. We are the students of the Summer Success Summit. Now I will uh, bring up Liam, who will tell you about the books that we have
Great.
done.
Thank you.
My name is Liam, Dr. Cialdini. Hi. I bet you're wondering why 16 kids are here in the summer to write a book. Who wants to write a book when you can play in the sun and have fun? Well,
Maybe at a water park.
Well, not only is this our 6th year, but now the books have turned into a series, with the first one becoming What Every Cool Kid Deserves to Know. It was success strategies. The second one was about happiness. The third one was about inner coach. The fourth one was about mindset. And the last year was about diversity. Now I will hand you back to Anne-Marie. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Liam. Now I will bring up Ireland, who will tell you about the process of us learning your 6 principles.
Hi, Dr. Cialdini. I'm Ireland, and today I'm going to tell you about the process. I'd like to share with you the process that we took for these 6 principles and how we learned them. When we first got here, Miss Elder told us about your 6 principles, and so we watched your animated video on it, which was amazing. We learned how they could be used, what they were. We thought it was amazing. Then we listened to your CD. After that, we broke into groups, and so each of us took two people took one principle to learn on. When I was in authority, I listened and took notes, and some people copied the notes off Miss Elder. She would write them down on the board so we could all look at them if we didn't hear something. Then when we wrote the book, we could go back and take the 2 people who heard it most and took the most notes on it about what they know about that particular principle, and so that way we'd have 2 experts on it. That's how we learned about each one and remembered them.
Great. You know what this sounds like to me is there's some research on something called the Jigsaw Classroom, where when the class gets a task to learn a particular lesson, each person has a small part of the lesson that they have to become expert on. And then they coordinate with by teaching the other students what they learned, right? And that works very well because now everybody is responsible for the success of the group, which causes everybody to be especially motivated by social pressure to be sure that they do a good job, otherwise they let down their teammates, right? And it sounds like you've done that. That's that jigsaw puzzle where everybody has a piece of the puzzle. When it all comes together, you get a beautiful picture. Yeah.
Thank you for that wise information, Dr. Cialdini.
You can call me Houdini.
Now I will bring up Kaylee Ballo, who is the head writer, and she will be telling you about the book.
Okay.
Kind of process.
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I'm the head writer. And so basically after we did all this research on your principles, we decided that it wouldn't be like this reference book, it would have a plot. And it would revolve around characters, and there would be a conflict, which was a water park closing, so we wanted to make it relatable to kids because it's our target audience. So the characters, we made 6 main characters, and each of them, we built their personalities around one of your 6 principles. Like the koala, she's cute and nice and fluffy, so her principle was likability, and the elephant is like big and strong, and they have really good memories, so he was authority. And the otter is a very like bright, bubbly, optimistic social animal, so she was consensus. And the others were built around their respective principles. So after we got the plot and the characters, we went over to the illustrators, Gina and Danny, who you'll meet soon, we drafted their character designs, and then we broke up into our original pairings for researching your principles, and we wrote each character as part of the story. Then we put it all together. I wrote up the rough draft of the script. We all edited it. I emailed it to Miss Elder, who emailed it to someone who emailed it to you. And then I don't know if you've read the book. It sounds like you have. So we would very much appreciate any feedback or suggestions or comments or ideas that you have about the book. So thank you.
Okay, I do plan to provide a little bit of feedback, but I thought it was brilliant. I thought you did an absolutely first-rate job with this. You know, when I teach my university classes, I'm known as a hard grader. I don't give a lot of top grades. I don't. This book is an A. This, in my grade book, this book gets an A. And I'll tell you one reason why. It is the fact that it's a story. As a species, we process stories more quickly and fully than any other kind of information, because that's how we learned from evolution. When we were sitting around campfires as cave people, right? And somebody was trying to tell us, oh, well, this is where the best hunting ground is over here. It was a story they were telling. It wasn't bullet points. We don't learn from bullet points, right? We learn from narratives. And the fact that you created this as a story that had a beginning, a middle, and an end that people could be swept along with and understood in terms of the initial problem, the means to solve the problem, and the end outcome was, I think, a plus in my grade book for you.
Thank you. Now I will introduce you to Danny and Gina Higgins, who are the head illustrators.
Okay.
Hello, we are the head illustrators. I am the character designer.
And I am the main artist.
Yeah, so basically, for character designs, I do a lot of research about this in my spare time. It's kind of my thing. Yeah. But I use like several principles of art and character design to make them all distinct and unique. First one is shape language. I needed to give all of them their unique shapes and like attributes, like to make sure the personalities really show through the design. So basically, you know, like a happy character will be happy, bubbly character will be have a lot of round circular shapes. A sturdy or strong character will have very square shapes, and a deceptive or evil character will have very sharp angles, triangles, and things like that. Color theory, of course, use that to pick their designs, get their colors, you know, using the right hues of each color, each, you know, brightness, darkness, whatever. Making each character look nice, using similar characters on the color wheel, making colors, yeah, I made sure they all look nice. And then there's silhouette theory. This is the most important one. Every character needs to have a very unique silhouette so they all stand out from each other. So that, like, you know, Mickey Mouse, SpongeBob, they have very distinct and unique silhouettes that you can really tell that who they are just from a glance at their silhouette. So I needed to make sure they were very iconic looking, very unique. And yeah, here are the design. Here are the characters.
Their names are Kayla the koala, Simon the sloth, Elliot the elephant, Audrey the otter, Hank the pig, and Lily the panda.
Yes. And then, as you saw, like, you know, Houdini, the owl character based off of yourself, he chose an owl because wise owl, you know, makes sense. And then here's that design.
Aha. Looks a lot like me.
That is the point. Yeah, originally.
I would have preferred a sky falcon, you know, something like a superhero, but I'll take, no, wisdom and the owl,
It still flies.
I'll accept that.
So, he was originally going to be a turtle, but I was like, I feel like owl fits better. Anyways, yeah, do you have anything else to say? Okay, yeah.
Well, let me just say that I hadn't seen the characters before because I only read the text of the story. But I'm glad that they are, as you have structured them, to be distinctive from and different from one another, because that's what the principles are. They are concise. They have their own boundaries. They don't bleed into one another. In theory anyway. In practice, sometimes they do, but in theory, they are separate concepts having to do with why people say yes to requests. And so having the characters be distinctive and having their own boundaries, shapes and boundaries, that's very much congruent with what the content of the book should be.
Yeah, no. Kayla definitely had to be redesigned like once or twice because like I didn't think she was distinct enough from the others. But yeah, we ended up with stuff we really liked.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Gina and Danny. Now, we are almost done with talking because we want some of your wisdom because you are very wise. And I might not have worded that correctly, but do you have any questions for us?
Well, yes, I do. Tell me who your target audience is. What are their ages? Where do you find them? How do you recruit them to buy or to subscribe to the book? How does that happen?
So
Yes.
our target audience is basically our age group. Like we wrote it for kids, like tweens, and I think our age range ranges from like here it's like 8 to 16. So in the middle of not exactly like little kids and not exactly like big kids. It's kind of in the middle. Basically the elementary school grade kids, I would say.
So a range between 8 and 16?
Correct.
That's a big range. A lot of changes go on in there. Is there a particular group within that age that's your target, or is it across that? Who has bought the book in the past? Which kinds of?
So, hi, I'm Debbie. I'm the
Hello,
teacher.
Debbie.
And what we have done in the past, the very first year we did do book tours. The point of the book initially was never to sell it. It was really to go through the process to learn and then be able to teach others. Because at this age, we used to have the camp was for much older students, high school students. When I purchased the elementary school, these children wanted to come. And so I wasn't willing to change how I did my camp, but I was interested in ways that would allow them to be able to come and do something like this. So I had the idea of flying back 1 year from Budapest that I should have the students write a book, because at this age, they will do for others what they might not do for themselves. And so the first year we wrote a book, we went and sold our copies. I do a lot of speaking, so I sold copies of the book when I spoke to Rotary clubs or any other clubs like that. And they earned just 600, right? They sold a lot of copies. They earned a lot of money, and they split it amongst the group. Subsequent years from that, the students were not that interested or motivated or had the time to go out and really work at selling the book rather. But now they're more interested again. So we'll see what happens. But we've used a self-publisher, Lulu, and we put it up there. We have not put it on Amazon, mainly because Amazon takes a lot more money. And it wasn't really the focus. But every year we have different students, and so this year there was a little bit more of an entrepreneurial focus. So that our main goal was to learn the principles. It wasn't so much about selling the book.
Good. I think learning the principles for those who generate the book is the best way to do it. But I think you're also interested in your audience learning the principles to spread the message, right, of what you have evolved in this book to tell them about. So it will be important to continue to understand how to harness the influence process in how you describe the book to potential buyers. What will be the reasons that they should purchase it, I think, for their children, right? Like, for example, it's important for children to know how to be more influential in their lives, also to know how to resist people who are trying to trick them with influence strategies that move them in unwelcome directions and so on. So I think it continues, the whole process of influence continues into the presentation of your offer. And so far, I think I have little doubt that you'll do a good job of that. But I do have some comments on what I read, and I thought it was absolutely first rate. And but there were a couple of things I thought you didn't know about, and so couldn't have included in your message based on some features of new research that we've done, and I can tell you about. One would be that in the principle of social proof, right, where the message is to a potential petition signer, look, we've been getting all kinds of signatures on our petition. Won't you join them? Won't you not just join us? Won't you join your neighbors and community members in this action? And social proof says, yes, they should, because that reduces their uncertainty about whether that's the right thing to do. If a lot of people just like them are doing it, then they should do it too. Here's the problem, though. At that point, you didn't have a lot of signatures, right? So it wasn't truthful. And we should only reserve our influence attempts for approaches that accurately depict reality for people, right? Otherwise, we're not being wholly honest with them. And we might get their signature, but if they find out that there's one of the few signatures on this petition, then we've reduced their likelihood of ever being influenced by us again, because they find that we're not honest brokers of information for them, right? So here's what I would suggest in that regard. We wait for the social proof approach until all the other principles have piled up those signatures, right? So we don't do it right away. We do it at the end where we have those signatures and we can actually point to something that's genuine in the situation. And then here's the new research that we've done. When we point to the fact that we've got a lot of signatures, we should include evidence of a trend in that direction. That is, on the first day, we had 30 signatures. On the second day, we had 60. On the third day, we had 100, all right? That trend is more powerful than just saying we have 100. When people see a trend in that direction, you know what they think the next day will be? 150. So now you have social proof going for you in the form of future social proof, something that they expect to be the case in the later. So that's how I think I would just change that social proof message to wait for it until it was honest and genuine, right? And then talk about how you got a trend. And when you talk about it, don't just say, and we've been getting more signatures. Say, we've been getting more and more signatures. that implies a trend, not just a number. And you want to harness the power of an honest trend that was there. Okay. Oh, and also when it comes to social proof, I think I liked what you said about the outcome, where you submitted the petition to government, and the outcome was that the parking garage approval was denied. Right? I think you can say we submitted it to the city council rather than just government, right? Who makes those decisions. And on the basis of the social proof in that document that you submitted, they made their decision, because that's how it works for government officials. They look at what the people around them and that they are responsible for want, and who are actually electing them, right? So they will want to follow the social proof, and you can even include that language so that your reader will see it didn't just work to get the approval of the signer, it worked to get the approval of the city council as well. Right? Small change. The only other modification I would make had to do with the commitment principle, commitment and consistency principle, in which you accurately state that if we can get people to make a small commitment to a particular idea or a goal, then they will want to be consistent with that if you ask them to make a larger commitment to it. And in the way that you described this, the person being asked to sign the petition was hesitant, and then asked, well, you know, I see you have children, little kangaroos, I think they were, in the background. You could get a family membership. You could buy a family membership for your kids. And after she says, oh yeah, that's a good idea, then you say, well, would you sign this petition? Here's the problem with that. A family membership is a bigger commitment than signing the petition. You want to go with a smaller one so people will, almost everybody would agree to do something small. Right? So one thing you could say would be, I see you have children behind you. Do you think that children would love to have a water park available in their city? Who would say no to that? And when she says yes, you say, how about your kids? She's going to say yes. And now you say, then won't you sign this? There's no way she's going to say no now. She's just made a commitment not only to the water park and for children, but to her children. Her children are an extension of her. And so she's made a commitment to do this. I'll tell you about a study that shows the importance of getting parental commitment for their kids. And it has to do with the principle of social proof. Right? And it was a study done in McDonald's. Actually, McDonald's in the countries of Brazil and Colombia. Right? Half of the time for 1 week, every family that came into the McDonald's to order food was given a balloon for each of their kids. Half of them were given a balloon as a nice thank you as they left the McDonald's, right? Thank you for patronizing McDonald's. Here's a balloon for each of your kids. The other half, according to the principle of reciprocity, were given the balloon as they came in before they ordered the food. Now, the parents owed McDonald's. and the parents bought 25% more food if they got the balloon first as opposed to after they had ordered. That's what the principle says. You have to give first, and then people feel grateful to you. They feel obligated to give in return. Now, here's the thing that has to do with the particular power of how this works, giving their kids something that works on what the parents do. Not only did the kids order more food and the family order more food, in that 25% increase, there was a 20% increase in coffee orders. The coffee wasn't for the kids. The coffee was for the parents. But the parents were buying more coffee because if you do a favor for my child, you do a favor for me. Okay, so that's my commentary on the book, some things that you couldn't have known about because you didn't know about the research that we had done on trends and the research that was done at McDonald's and so on. But that's what my commentary was. I have very little else to recommend to change. I don't have, in fact, I have nothing else to recommend. I thought this was particularly well done, but I do think you want to be focused on the next stage of getting your message out, how you pitch the value of this book to parents for the better experience their children will have knowing this message. Okay, so any questions that you have for me that I might be able to answer? There's a hand in the back.
Hi, my name is Robert. Hello, Mr. Cialdini.
Your name is Robert? Good name.
I have a question. What inspired you to start this 3-year journey of you learning principles?
Okay, this is a really good question. And it is that all my life I've been a sucker. I've been an easy pushover for the appeals of fundraisers, charity solicitors, salespeople who've come to my door, right? And I would find myself in unwanted possession of these things or subscriptions to magazines I really didn't care about or contributing to causes I didn't know a lot about. And I remember thinking to myself, so Cialdini, why would you give your money for something you didn't really want on its merits? You know, it must be that something other than the merits of the case got you to say yes. It must be the psychology of the way those merits were presented to you. Right? Oh, that's interesting. That's worth studying, not just out of self-defense for myself, no, you know, but that this would be something people in general would be interested in. Everybody has a case. Everybody has a case to make for an offer or an appeal or an idea or a product or a service. And they all have some strengths, right? How do you best present the strengths? What's the best way to deliver your message? I thought that that was worth studying in a psychological frame rather than in the content of those merits. That's for somebody else to figure out, the people who generate the product or the service or the idea. They can, what's in there is their domain. The messenger, the communicator, though, that question has to do with the delivery system, the way you present those merits. That makes a difference in whether people say yes. And I decided, and I'm happy that I did, to pursue that, because the the book Influence has been more successful than I could have sensibly imagined, right? Sold more copies in more languages than I could have sensibly imagined when I wrote it, because everybody's interested in persuasion. I've never talked to a single person who said, well, I'm not interested in how to be more persuasive, or I'm not interested in defending myself against people who try to persuade me. No, everybody's interested in that. And so as a result, I'm glad that I chose this particular field of psychology. So Robert, does that answer your question?
Yes. Also, I like the one. I also like the story when the kid came up to you and gave you a box of chocolates.
So.
Hi, Dr. Cialdini. It's Ireland again, and I have a question for you on how would you use your 6 principles in the classroom?
In the classroom?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, there are all kinds of opportunities to use the principle in the classroom. And one thing I would do on the very first lecture that I would give at the start of it, I would tell a joke, just to be more likable. It didn't have to be a good joke. It just had to be that this was a guy who was likable enough to try to make us laugh, right? Who was a nice, going to be a nice teacher, right? So there's research, for example, to show that on an exam, if the instructor puts a funny item on the first as the first question, something that's kind of a humorous item, right? Versus as the last question on the exam, people do better on the rest of the exam if they first had a funny item. It reduces their stress, it reduces their anxiety. They laugh and they see that the professor is somebody who is not a hard, nasty person, but somebody who's trying to be likable, who is likable, right? So that's one of the things you can do, right? There are others, authority, of course, what your credentials are, and evidence that other classes, I've taught these classes before, and I know a lot about what students prefer and how to learn in this class and so on. So I get social proof, and all of those things are possible. It turned out that in my classes, usually they were oversubscribed. There weren't enough seats for students. So I would say, I'm sorry that not everybody was able to get into, that was the scarcity principle. I told them that this was a scarce resources they were going about to get. So those are the kinds of things I could do.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Okay, well, good. I've enjoyed the chance to interact with you. If there are no other questions, Debbie, are we finished?
Well, Deborah's when I'm in big trouble, so Debbie works best. But thank you so much for your time. We really enjoyed learning about these principles. I have my girlfriend here, Dr. Teresa Cody, who's a dentist. When I talked to Babette, she told me about your new dental program. So I invited her here so she can listen to you. We study a lot of books together, and yours was one of the first that we studied together. And then I re-listened to it when I was on vacation. And I said to my husband, I know what we're going to do this summer at the Summer Success Summit. We're going to do Dr. Cialdini's work. And then on the first day of camp, I told the kids, I'm going to try and get a hold of Dr. Cialdini for two reasons. One, to let him know what we're doing, but more to make sure we get it right. So thanks for making this so significant for all of these guys. Oh, you have a question, Ellen? Come on up.
How do you have any advice for any of us to resist trickery against like someone selling you chocolate bar, and like advice to say no, like someone sells you a crummy car and you want to say no, but you don't want to feel bad afterwards? How is there any advice that you can give there?
Yes, it is to do what you've already begun to do, and also to spread the message of what you've done. Give people knowledge of the 6 principles of influence, right? So they know what levers of influence are being used on them, and they can decide whether this is an appropriate one, right? So, for example, if your parents are going to buy a new car, right? They go into the showroom, and here's what the salesperson has been trained to do. The salesperson has been trained to get them to like him or her, right? Give them they will give them a bottle of water or a coffee or tea or a soft drink. They'll give them something. They will compliment them on their choices of color schemes and accessories. They will claim that, where are you folks located now?
We're in Richmond, Texas.
Texas. You know, I've lived in Texas all my life. My wife was born in Texas. We loved, so, you know, they'll give them those kinds of connections to make them more likable. What people need to remember is that even if they like the salesperson, they won't be driving the salesperson off the lot after the sale. They'll be driving that Chevrolet or Toyota. When they recognize, hey, I like Phil or I like Sarah more than I would expect for just having interacted with them for 40 minutes, a flag should go up. Uh-oh, the liking principle is working here. And what I want to do is step back from it and ask myself, would I sign this contract based on the merits of the car, not the merits of the person who sold it to me and the way that that person sold it to me? So I think it's very important that we know what principles are, and when we see them being used, we can decide, oh, is that true? Is this something I should follow? So for example, if they honestly say, and this is the most popular model of our car, or this is the most popular payment plan of all of the customers we have, if that's true, that's probably something you don't want to ignore. That's probably evidence of something that's true and you should follow, right? So what you want to do is make sure that the principle that's being used is honestly presented to you, and then you should follow it. If it's not, if it's being counterfeited in the situation, right, then you want to move away from it. Now, sometimes you don't know that it's been counterfeited until after you buy this thing and it turns out not to be the product that was as it was offered, as it was described. What do you do then? You go online and you blow their cover. You tell everybody else about the deception, because people who use these principles unethically deserve to be sanctioned for it. They deserve to be penalized for that deception. And I think Robert has his hand up, right?
Well, you
just talked about a like car situation. It happened to my mom once. She was getting a new car because when she was moving to Texas, she couldn't bring her sports car that she wanted to bring. It was just a mini like sports car. So she went to when she got here to Texas, she had no car. My dad was already there, so he drove her to the place. And they said it was a Chevrolet, and they said here's a car. It's probably the least used and it was the most taken care of, and you might want to buy it now because people are lining up for it. So she goes out, test drives it. It works. 1 year later, it breaks down and she hates it.
Yeah.
And just before the flood, or after the flood, it still worked. The thing's huge. So she eventually sold it for scrap, and she got a new car, which she prefers way more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he used a combination of scarcity and social proof, right? There's so many people who want this car that you better buy it now or it will be gone, right? But it turned out to be a lemon of a car. And what I would say is more than just scrapping it and buying another car, she should go online and honestly describe what happened to her at that dealership and inform future buyers, hey, you may not want to do business here. Okay. Well, once again, I enjoyed the chance to spend time with you and to read your book, and good luck with it.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, and hopefully we can be in touch again. We have enjoyed it.
So long for now. Bye.
I'll go back to the
Well done.